Welcome to the HFY Tales channel. Remember to like and subscribe if you like the story. Enjoy and take care. The stars shimmered beyond the viewport, a vast ocean of galaxies, each one filled with its own stories, conflicts, and resolutions. Liam Carter stared out at them from the sleek confines of his diplomatic vessel, but tonight they offered no comfort. His mind was still reeling from the news. Bring a human for reproduction with my daughters. The decree had come from Princess Lysera, ruler of the Valnari Empire, delivered through the Galactic Council with cold precision. It was not a request, but a mandate. The Valnari were facing an unprecedented crisis, one that threatened the very future of their race. Centuries of genetic manipulation had rendered their species infertile. The Valnari, once the proud, thriving rulers of a vast empire, were dying, and they believed humanity held the key to their survival. Liam, a seasoned diplomat who had negotiated treaties between war-torn planets and mediated peace deals between sworn enemies, had been chosen for this mission. But as he watched the stars flicker in the void, he couldn't help but wonder if this was a mistake. He wasn't just being sent to negotiate terms. He was being offered as part of the solution, a human male, fit for reproduction. It was a position he had never imagined himself in, and one that sat uncomfortably with his conscience. The ship's comm system chimed softly, breaking his thoughts. "We're approaching Xerion, sir," the pilot announced. Liam took a deep breath. Xerion, the Valnari homeworld, a place few humans had ever seen. He'd read reports about its otherworldly beauty, a planet teeming with bioluminescent forests and crystal-clear oceans. But it was hard to appreciate the scenery when you knew you were walking into a political and ethical minefield. "Thank you," he replied, his voice steadier than he felt. He stood up, smoothing his diplomatic robes as he prepared to face what was ahead. The landing on Xerion was as smooth as could be expected, given the anxiety gnawing at Liam's insides. As the ship's hatch opened, a wave of warm, fragrant air swept in. The scent of alien flora was intoxicating, unlike anything he had ever smelled before. He stepped out into a landing bay that gleamed with polished metal, surrounded by towering luminescent trees whose leaves shimmered in hues of green and blue. Waiting to greet him was an entourage of Valnari dignitaries. At their head stood Princess Lysera herself. She was more beautiful than he had imagined. Tall and graceful, her skin a pale silver that glowed faintly under the ambient light of Xerion's twin moons. Her eyes, large and shimmering with intelligence, were a deep violet that seemed to see straight through him. Her hair, a cascade of silver blue, flowed down her back in delicate waves adorned with intricate gemstones. "Welcome, Ambassador Carter," she said, her voice melodic but laced with authority. "We are honored by your presence." Liam bowed respectfully, but his heart was heavy. "The honor is mine, Princess Lysera. I come on behalf of Earth and the Galactic Council." Lysera's expression softened, just a fraction. "I understand that this mission may be difficult for you, but I hope in time you will come to see it as an opportunity for both our people." Liam nodded, though the weight of her words pressed on him. Opportunity. That was one way to frame it, he supposed. But the undercurrent of desperation in her tone was undeniable. "We have much to discuss," she continued, "but first you must meet my daughters. They have been eager to meet you since the decree was issued." A chill ran down Liam's spine at the thought. He had read the profiles of the three Valnari princesses, each unique in personality and role within their mother's court, yet bound by the same fate. They were the future of the Valnari, and it was his role, however unwelcome, to help secure that future. The royal palace was a marvel of alien architecture, tall, elegant spires that seemed to defy gravity, made of a material that shimmered like glass but was harder than any metal Liam had ever encountered. Inside, the walls pulsed with faint light, the lifeblood of the palace itself, as though the building were alive. He was led through the grand halls by Lysera and her advisors, until they reached a chamber at the heart of the palace. The doors slid open soundlessly, revealing a room filled with soft, ambient light and strange floating plants that glowed in shades of violet and teal. At the center of the room stood the three Valnari princesses. Ariana, the eldest, was regal and poised, her expression unreadable as her violet eyes studied him with an analytical gaze. She wore a gown that shimmered like liquid silver, and her hair was woven with delicate metallic strands, giving her an almost ethereal presence. Kayla, the middle child, had a warmer, more approachable demeanor. She smiled at Liam as he entered, her green-tinted skin and auburn hair setting her apart from her sisters. There was curiosity in her eyes, as though she were fascinated by the presence of a human in their midst. And then there was Lyra, the youngest, who stood apart from her sisters, her arms crossed and a defiant look on her face. Her silver hair was cropped short, and her expression was a mixture of suspicion and resentment. Unlike her older sisters, who wore their royal titles like a second skin, Lyra seemed uncomfortable in the room, as though she wanted to be anywhere but here. Liam swallowed, feeling the weight of their gazes on him. He bowed slightly in greeting. "Princesses, it is an honor to meet you." Ariana was the first to respond, her voice calm and measured. "We have heard much about you, Ambassador Carter. We are grateful that you have come." Kayla stepped forward, her smile widening. "I must admit, I'm curious. Humans are so different from what I expected." Lyra scoffed, earning a sharp glance from Ariana. "I don't see what's so special about him," Lyra muttered. "He's just human." Kayla shot her a disapproving look. "Lyra, please." Liam cleared his throat, sensing the tension between the sisters. "I understand that this situation is unique for all of us, but I hope we can approach it with mutual respect." Ariana nodded, her gaze softening slightly. "Of course, we all wish for the best outcome." But Lyra's eyes remained hard, her arms still crossed in defiance. "I don't need a human to fix my problems." As the initial introduction settled into an awkward silence, Princess Lysera gestured for them to sit. The room, though spacious, felt charged with an invisible tension. Liam couldn't shake the feeling that his presence, while formally welcomed, was fraught with unspoken complications. Lysera, ever the diplomat, broke the silence. "Liam, we understand that this decree may seem unorthodox, but our situation is dire. The genetic viability of our race is on the verge of collapse. What we propose is not just about survival. It is about creating a future in which the Valnari can thrive once more." Liam felt the weight of her words, but couldn't suppress the unease bubbling inside him. "Princess, I understand your people are facing a crisis, but surely there are other solutions, scientific or diplomatic, that don't reduce humans to tools for reproduction." Kayla leaned forward, her eyes wide with curiosity. "But isn't that the essence of cooperation? You have something we need, and in return, we offer our knowledge, our protection, and an alliance that could benefit Earth in ways you can't yet imagine." Liam met her gaze, seeing genuine interest, but also a lack of understanding about the human condition. Cooperation, yes, but this feels more like exploitation. Our humanity isn't a resource to be bartered. Lyra's scoff cut through the room like a knife. "Humans think they're so special, as if your lives and your morality are somehow above everyone else's. We've been fighting for our survival for generations, and now you come here and tell us what's ethical." Liam turned to her, his expression softening. He could sense that Lyra's anger came from a place of frustration. "It's not about thinking we're better. It's about finding a solution that respects both our peoples." Lyra's violet eyes narrowed. "And if we don't have time for your solutions? If your hesitation costs us the future of our entire species?" Before Liam could respond, Princess Lysera raised her hand, silencing the room. "Enough, Lyra. I understand your concerns, Liam, and believe me, this decree was not made lightly. But time is not on our side." The room grew quiet once more. Liam could see the burden etched on Lysera's face, a weight that had shaped her entire being. Despite the ethical dilemma, the urgency of their need was impossible to ignore. Over the next few days, Liam spent time within the Valnari Palace, learning more about their culture and history. The Valnari were a proud people, their society built on centuries of achievements in biotechnology, art, and philosophy. But beneath their accomplishments lay a growing fear, one that had driven them to desperate measures. Liam's interactions with the princesses revealed their complex personalities. Ariana, the eldest, was always composed and rational, her conversations with Liam steeped in logic and strategy. She saw the decree as a necessary sacrifice for the greater good, and expected Liam to come around to that way of thinking. Kayla, on the other hand, was fascinated by human culture. She spent hours asking Liam about Earth's history, art, and society. She was intrigued by the concept of human individuality and freedom, things the Valnari valued differently. As their conversations deepened, Liam found himself drawn to Kayla's genuine curiosity and warmth. She seemed to see him as more than just a part of the decree, and her interest in him as a person slowly eroded the cold distance he had initially felt. One afternoon, as they sat by a shimmering pool in the palace gardens, Kayla asked the question Liam had been dreading. "Do you think there's any part of this arrangement that could work? I mean, for both of us?" Liam hesitated. I think if we could find a way to solve your fertility problem without reducing it to a mere exchange of biology, then yes. But as it stands, it feels too transactional, too dehumanizing." Kayla's expression softened. "I understand, but there's so much at stake. My mother, she carries the weight of our entire civilization on her shoulders. She isn't just a ruler, she's the last hope for our survival." Liam nodded. "And that's what makes this so hard. I can see the desperation, but I don't think we can build a future together based on desperation alone." For a moment they sat in silence, the soft hum of alien insects filling the air. Then Kayla placed her hand gently on his. Maybe it's not about survival or desperation. Maybe it's about finding a way to see each other as equals, to trust each other." Liam felt a warmth in her touch, a moment of genuine connection that went beyond the politics of their situation. "I'd like to think that's possible." As Liam's bond with Kayla grew, not everyone in the Valnari court was pleased. Behind the scenes, factions of Valnari nobles had been plotting to undermine the princess's decree. They saw humans as inferior, unworthy of contributing to the Valnari genetic legacy. These nobles, led by a high-ranking official named Lord Rathan, believed that the humans should be used as mere genetic donors, without their consent or involvement. One night, as Liam was walking back to his chambers, he was ambushed by a group of Valnari guards loyal to Lord Rathan. They subdued him quickly, binding his arms as they dragged him toward a hidden laboratory deep within the palace. Liam struggled, panic rising in his chest. "What are you doing? You can't force this," one of the guards sneered. "You think your consent matters, human? You're here for one purpose and one purpose only." Just as they reached the entrance to the lab, a voice echoed through the hallway. "Let him go." Kayla stood at the end of the corridor, her eyes blazing with anger. Behind her was Lyra, her expression conflicted but determined. The guards hesitated, unsure of how to respond to the princesses. Kayla stepped forward, her voice icy. "I said, let him go." The guards exchanged uncertain glances, but it was clear they feared the wrath of the royal family. Slowly they released Liam, who stumbled forward, his heart pounding. Lyra, who had been distant and defiant for most of Liam's stay, stepped up beside her sister. "This isn't the way," she said quietly. "We can't force people into this. It's wrong." Kayla turned to Liam, her expression softening. "I'm sorry. This was never supposed to happen." Liam rubbed his wrists, still reeling from the ambush. "What would have happened if you hadn't come?" Kayla's eyes were filled with sorrow. "They would have extracted what they needed from you, without your consent." Lyra, her voice quiet but resolute, added, "I didn't want to believe it either, but there are those in the court who think we're wasting time trying to negotiate with humans. They want to take what they need, no matter the cost." Liam's anger flared. "So this is what your alliance really means? Forced compliance?" Kayla shook her head. "No, not for me, not for us. But there are others who think differently." Liam felt a surge of gratitude for Kayla's intervention, but the betrayal stung deeply. He had come here in good faith, believing there was room for understanding and cooperation. But this was something else entirely. In the aftermath of the near betrayal, tension simmered in the palace. The guards who had captured Liam were reprimanded, but the fact that the attempt had occurred at all revealed deeper fractures within the Valnari court. The nobles who followed Lord Rathan were still plotting, their belief that humans were inferior, too ingrained to be swayed by reason or diplomacy. Liam's trust had been shaken, but the genuine remorse he saw in Kayla and Lyra gave him pause. Even Ariana, the stoic eldest daughter, had expressed her disgust with the underhanded actions of the rebellious nobles. However, none of them could deny the growing unrest among their people. That evening, Liam was summoned to meet Princess Lysera privately in her chambers. He wasn't sure what to expect, but as he entered the room, he found the princess not in her usual regal attire, but dressed simply, standing by the large window overlooking the glowing forests of Zirion. "Liam," she said softly, turning to face him. Her face, usually so composed and unreadable, seemed different now, more human somehow. "I owe you an apology." Liam stayed silent, waiting for her to continue. "I was aware that some of my people didn't fully support the decree," she admitted, her voice heavy with regret. "But I didn't think they would go this far. You were brought here as an ambassador, not a prisoner, and I fear that trust has been broken." He nodded slowly. "I understand that you didn't intend for this to happen, Princess, but it has. And now I have to wonder if there's any future where we can trust each other." Lysera's eyes lowered, a flicker of sadness crossing her face. "I cannot blame you for feeling that way, but please understand, my people are desperate. We've been on the edge of extinction for decades now, and the pressure to secure our survival has driven many of us to make choices we would otherwise never consider." She walked closer, her expression softening. "I did not wish to see humans as mere tools, Liam. I still don't. But the longer this crisis continues, the more I fear we may lose what makes us Valnari." Liam looked at her, seeing the weight of responsibility in her eyes. He could sense the depth of her sorrow and the genuine care she had for her people. But he still had one burning question. "Why a human?" he asked. "Why not seek help from other advanced civilizations in the galaxy? Surely there are species with the technology to solve your genetic problems without involving us." Lysera sighed, running a hand through her silver-blue hair. "We tried. For years we sought the help of the Calirians and the Cortai, the most advanced genetic scientists in the galaxy. But none of their solutions worked. Our DNA has been manipulated so many times, altered so drastically, that it's beyond repair." She paused, her gaze intense. "But humans, your biology is different. Your adaptability, your genetic resilience, it's unlike anything we've encountered. We've studied your species for years, and it became clear that the answer to our survival lies in your DNA. It's not just reproduction we seek. It's a chance to merge our genetic lineages and create something new, something stronger." Liam frowned. "But that doesn't justify using humans without their consent." Lysera nodded. "I know, and that's why I need your help, Liam. To find a way forward that honors both our peoples. I can't undo the decree, not without risking rebellion within my court. But I can change the way we approach this, with your guidance." Liam was taken aback. "You're asking me to help you rewrite the decree?" "I'm asking you to help me save my people, without sacrificing our integrity, without becoming something we despise." The next day, Princess Lysera convened a meeting of the royal court, along with her daughters, Liam, and the most influential nobles, including Lord Rathan. The tension in the grand hall was palpable, as the Valnari aristocracy waited to hear their ruler's decision. Liam stood beside Lysera, unsure of what was about to unfold, but determined to speak if necessary. Lysera raised her voice, addressing the assembly with the authority of a ruler who knew her empire's survival hung in the balance. "As many of you know, recent events have revealed fractures in our unity. Our desperation has driven some to act without honor. But today, I propose a new way forward, one that will ensure our survival without sacrificing our values." She paused, her gaze sweeping over the gathered nobles before continuing. "The decree remains in effect, but its terms will change. Humans will not be forced into compliance. Instead, we will offer an alliance, one based on mutual respect and scientific collaboration." Murmurs rippled through the court. Lord Rathan narrowed his eyes, clearly displeased. "And how exactly do you propose to achieve this, Princess? Will we grovel before these humans, begging them to save us?" Liam's anger flared, but Lysera remained composed. "We will work together with the humans. We will not take what isn't freely given. Instead, Valnari and human scientists will collaborate to find a solution to our infertility crisis, a solution that benefits both species. Rathin scoffed. And if this collaboration fails, will we simply allow ourselves to die out, clinging to some naive sense of morality? Lysera's eyes flashed with resolve. We will not abandon our principles, Lord Rathin. If we are to survive, it must be as a people worthy of survival, not as conquerors who strip others of their dignity. Rathin opened his mouth to protest, but before he could speak, Ariana stepped forward. Mother is right. Our survival means nothing if we lose who we are. We cannot build our future on the backs of those we exploit. Kayla and Lyra stood beside her, their presence a united front. Kayla spoke next, her voice calm but firm. We have the opportunity to build something new, an alliance that could shape the future of both our species. Isn't that worth fighting for? Lyra, her usual defiance softened by the events of the past days, added quietly, I've seen what fear and desperation can do, but we're better than this. We have to be. Liam felt a surge of pride at their words. Despite the challenges, these princesses, the future of the Valnari, were standing up for a path that honored both humanity and their people. He took a step forward, his voice clear as he addressed the court. There's still time to make this right. If we work together, Valnari and humans, we can find a solution that ensures your survival without resorting to coercion. But it has to be built on trust, not force. For a moment, the room was silent. Then, slowly, the murmurs of dissent began to quiet. Even Lord Rathin, though his expression remained stormy, said nothing more. In the weeks that followed, a new partnership was forged between Earth and Xerion. Valnari and human scientists began working together, sharing knowledge and resources, in the hope of finding a solution to the Valnari fertility crisis. The collaboration was not without its challenges, but for the first time, there was hope, real hope, that both species could find a way to thrive together. Liam stayed on Xerion to oversee the negotiations, his bond with Kayla growing stronger each day. Their shared ideals and mutual respect had blossomed into something deeper, something neither of them had expected. One evening, as they sat in the palace gardens, watching the twin moons rise over the glowing forest, Kayla turned to Liam, her expression thoughtful. I never thought this would happen, she admitted softly. That humans and Valnari could find common ground. That we could be friends. Liam smiled, his hand resting lightly on hers. Neither did I, but I'm glad we did. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, the weight of their shared journey settling between them. Though the future was uncertain, there was a sense of peace in the air, a feeling that somehow they had found the right path. Years passed, and the collaboration between Earth and Xerion became a symbol of what was possible when two species chose cooperation over conflict. The Valnari, with the help of human scientists, began to see the first signs of recovery in their genetic lines. Their fertility crisis wasn't fully resolved, but progress had been made, and the future no longer seemed so bleak. Liam returned to Earth eventually, leaving behind a legacy of trust and understanding that would shape the galaxy for generations. His relationship with Kayla remained strong, their bond transcending the boundaries of their respective worlds. Though they walked different paths, they stayed connected, their shared experiences forging an unbreakable link between them. As the story of the Valnari and humans spread throughout the galaxy, it became a tale of hope, of two peoples who, despite their differences, had come together to build a future based on respect, cooperation, and mutual survival. And in the end, that was the greatest legacy of all.